Hello, my name is Jenna Bosiger, and you're watching Cryptic Cryptids. It's Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. And just this last weekend, I went on a long road trip, and I drove through my old Bigfoot hotspot, and that is on a narrow, windy road, and usually I'm the one driving, but this time my husband was driving, and so I was able to stare out the window and look for things, and my eye caught sight of a stick structure in the distance, and so it was another stop the car moment, and I got out and walked up to it. Along the way, I saw some interesting stones, and because of the fire that happened, it's probably happened 3 years ago in Apple Valley up in Idlewild, and it still left quite a bit of destruction, and a lot of the stones are exposed, so I could see them. And I saw a really great sign that I took a picture of, and it says, "Please do not harm any snakes. They are an important part of the ecosystem." And obviously they needed to put this sign up there because people were probably just killing them. Just because you see a snake, some people think they have the right to kill it, but just take a picture, just look at it, and then leave it alone. Just let it go its own way. And then I found this other interesting sign that it's got a fence, and it says sensitive area behind this sign, and it says sensitive species, and I'm wondering what kind of species. Could it be Bigfoot? And this one I saw, it said restoration area, the next 5 miles, and I'm happy to see that sign because I do think this is an important habitat. And I also found the reason for all of these very upset birds. They were making a lot of noise, and there was quite a bit of them, and it didn't really take a genius to figure out why they were upset. Okay, so I saw this TP stick structure way in the distance as we were driving by. So I hesitate to, I'm just an observer here. I didn't do a very good job researching it because my husband was waiting in the car, and it was kind of a ways away, and I was a little bit nervous even just being there because you don't know. It looks like it was unfinished, or it's still in the process of being made. But I will say, Hemet, if you're going to stereotype the people there aren't really like a lot of, say, hippie types that, would be more into making stick structures in the wilderness, barefoot. It's more like old people that are retired and gangsters. So, it is in a hotspot, but nonetheless, not making any calls on it. Also, I obviously did not do a good job at all videotaping the footprints that I found, and it looks like there was quite a few of them. So I definitely need to go back, and I plan to do that when I move back up there. And I found out, speaking of that, that I will be moving up there finally November 17th. So 1 more week finally. And then I'll be able to get into some things, some places that I left off exploring, and, probably to have a little bit of a different approach. I will, this isn't where I would want to come back alone, though, and especially without timber. So I will get back here, though, as soon as I can, to take my time filming the footprints, for one, because I do see toes in one place, but it's very, I was in a hurry, you can tell. So next time, you learn from making these videos that I need to slow down. And of course, I should keep a quarter with me to put it down there for scale. And it looks like the teepee is not finished being made. There's a pile of sticks that look unfinished. What I would have liked to take my time doing is looking better at the ends of the branches to see if they were cut with a tool or if they were like broken off. But I didn't really do a good job doing that either. So this is just an anomaly. It is in a Bigfoot hotspot, but definitely not going to assume that it wasn't made by people. And here I just cropped that part of the film with the prints and put it in slow motion so that you could get a better, if you're interested in seeing the prints more closely. But like I said, this is going to require a reinvestigation. So I'll get back down there. I was able to see some interesting stones from the ride, and like I said, from the Idlewild fire we could really get a good view of the stones since the trees were all burned away. And I didn't see any wild animals, except I did hear this woodpecker with the red head, and he was way in the distance, but he was really loud, and I could hear him, and then I found him with my 100-time zoom lens. And I didn't get to see him pounding his face into the tree, but that's what he does, and that's what he must have been doing. So that was fun to see him. And, you know, it's a really, really long drive that we took from Idlewild to Bee Canyon. There's a lot of nature there to see. And we saw a lot of pretty skies. Okay, in part 2, I want to talk about Bigfoot in Southern California and the hotspots that they've been seen in through history. And those include, among many others, I'm sure, Hemet, Fontana, Santa Ana, Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley, and Anza Borrego. So I'm going to go over a few articles that I found online and selected that talk about these Bigfoot sightings in these areas. Okay, in this article at robojapan.blogspot.com, there's an article in the Monster Island News about titled A Brief History of Bigfoot in Southern California, written by Ken Halsey and Terry Presley, with a drawing by Scott Davis. All right, and in this article they talk about a very, well, as long as written history starts in this area, as early back as 1769, when the local Indians told Spanish priests about the hairy devils that live nearby. And they talk about the foul-smelling wild men. And then they also called them Towis Puki, translating to Camp of the Devil, on the southern bank of the Santa Ana River. And you know, I talked about the Taquis, Takwis. That's the Native American word for the Bigfoot. And then the Spanish took that word and named Mount Taquis after the Bigfoot. All right, so anyways, around that same area, there's, Dead Man's Hole in Holcomb Village. And there was some sightings of them around there in 1876. A naked, large, hairy thing. So, yeah, you know, let's see, here we have something like 1876 that the San Diego Union reported a missing link near Warner Ranch. And that's in Warner Springs in San Diego County. Let's see, they reported a dark fur-like bear face. Okay, the creature had a dark fur like a bear and a face like an American or Spaniard. So that's interesting. Oftentimes you hear about this thing as having a very human looking face. And this sounds like he had a white face and lots of fur. All right, now then all the way back in 1888, some local hunters apparently killed a creature that they described as being a gorilla with the face of an Indian and fangs like a bear. Okay, and so of course the body disappeared. Now, these sightings keep going on all the way here in 1939 now, getting into the 1900s, and a prospector witnessed a group of upright walking apes, and they camped near the Borrego Sink. Oh, and they had white fur and glowing red eyes. Well, isn't that interesting that the Sandman would have maybe some lighter fur creatures to match into the landscape? And I'm going to get into doing an episode about eye shine. And I've been researching all about that. There's a lot to be said about eye shine and the color. Okay, but anyways, this keeps going on and on. And in Lancaster, Harold Lancaster, in 1968, there's a excerpt here from him talking about the Borrego Sandman. Oh, the abominable Sandman of Borrego. Oh, I don't know why he's abominable, but, he is out there. And he's in the fissures and the caves, I agree, and the crevices of the Superstition Mountain Range. Well, that's a whole other story, isn't that in Arizona? Or are they talking about in California by the Salton Sea? I have to look into that, because there is an area over there, and I think it's called Superstition Hills. Oh, I have to get out there. Yes, and it's in the sand dunes. I know where that is. It's out in the middle of nowhere. I want to go there so bad. Oh, anyways, that would be a trip. Anyways, maybe. All right, so the San Diego Union, it's pretty reputable. They ran an article about a Sandman at Dead Man's Hole near Warner Springs again. A cross between a man and a bear with protruding teeth and powerful jaws. So these things have been going on, these sightings. And what's weird is that the sightings happen repeatedly in the same areas over and over. That should say something, that should add to the validity of them. Okay, a lot of the Air Force bases have sightings, UFO sightings, and I guess Bigfoot sightings out here. Got one in 1964. They were being pelted by rocks, common behavior. Oh, hiking near Escondido. What do you know about that? Oh, near Hamuel, a juvenile sandman. So always keep your eye out for prints when you are walking around, and look for toes. And that doesn't mean you found a Bigfoot print, but just being aware of looking can help you see things, Oh yes, and then there's the Fontana, the Speedway monster, I think it was what it was called. And he was seen for a while, not lately though. But I think that, let's see, he was in the city of Fontana. They have a racetrack out there, and he was seen around there and called the Speedway Monster. All right, all the way back, we're getting closer. In 1965, I guess a little boy was attacked by a monster. And his clothes were torn to shreds. Wow. As he walked home. That's scary. Well, let's see. On the same year, August 27th, in Fontana. These are all in Fontana. Well, a monster spelled like a dead animal. All right, and then we've got some Boy Scouts. Oh, Barton Flats. I went camping there, and I did have those. That's where I made those the recordings, and that's why I went camping there. So, anyways, there was some more sightings near Barton Flats and near Big Bear. Oh, Little Creek, another hot spot. Let's see where else. They're all around here with these sightings. But they do tend to congregate in the same areas. Oh yes, they're in 29 Palms. There's been sightings in 29 Palms, 1971, 1979 in Desert Hot Springs, which, the Morongo Preserve is right near Desert Hot Springs, and there is water out there, believe it or not. Oh, here we go. In 1979, a 12-foot Bigfoot made a visit, they say, to Hemet. I say they did more than just visit there. But in this case, they documented it happening twice in a period of a week. Sounds like more than just a visit. Anyways, this creature left 17 tracks. They were 18 inches in length and 6 feet apart. So they were done by some reputable researchers and investigators. They did a stakeout, and how long are you going to stay in Hemet for, really? They did not get to see him. But that's just one of the sightings that's in Hemet. Let's see, in 1988, they're still seeing him 100 years later near Big Bear. We got another one called the Cement Monster, and it's near an old cement factory in Lucerne Valley. So that was a great article written September 19th, 2012. And there's more reports, and they are all saying the same thing, talking about how common it is, these Bigfoot sightings that have been going on all over Southern California. There's a lot of underground things obviously going on here. And, with their habitat shrinking, I think, contact happens, and now we're able to kind of pull it together and see this history of it in all of these areas. And so we'll continue looking at that history later. And that's all for now. But thank you for listening and watching. Until next time, have a good one.